Let's unpack this with Paul Ingram in London. He's a senior research associate at Cambridge University Centre for the Study of Existential Risk. Paul, good to have you on the News Hour. How concerned are you about a nuclear disaster at the Zaporizhzhia power plant?
So I'm very concerned that there is going to be some kind of radioactive release for the reasons you've just outlined. What we have here is a conflict that involves shelling, and that shelling is indiscriminate and has been landing in the vicinity and in the area of the plant. As has been said, the reactor is protected, and if the shells land on the dome that protect the reactor, then in all likelihood it would take quite a number of them to damage the reactor containment. But we have the cooling ponds just beside these reactors, and we have other sensitive aspects of the plant that are all essential to ensuring that the plant continues and that the radioactive material is protected from release. If those critical systems are compromised by the shelling, then it will be serious for people local to the plant. And I would say further than 10 kilometers, we're not talking about serious life-threatening radioactive levels over hours, but we're still talking about potential exclusion zones that reach well beyond 10 kilometers.
Well, people in those exclusion zones and well beyond 10 kilometers, as you say, what could possibly happen to them? What are some of the effects?
So it's unlikely, other than very close to the plant, that you would have serious immediate life-threatening levels of radiation. But you are thinking the reason why these are zones that are likely to be evacuated is that staying in those zones for protracted periods of time, weeks or months, will raise your chances of catching cancer or having some other reaction to the radioactive levels. So it's not a case of binary leave or you die, but it is a question of heightened risk. And I think that this could have serious impact locally. We've seen it in Japan, where there are still exclusion zones well over a decade after the Fukushima incident, and I think that that we're looking at that sort of potential scenario in this case.
Paul, after Chernobyl in 1986, Fukushima in 2011, what were some of the lessons that were learnt by experts, and also ways to prevent another such nuclear disaster?
Well, let me quickly answer your question. There were ways in which the reactor itself was better protected. The designs were improved, but we still have a risk, and it's a significant risk. And one of the lessons that hasn't been learned is that these reactors are still going up, being constructed around the world without any concern for how conflict or instability could throw up the sort of problems that we're looking at now in Zaporizhzhia. The cost-benefit analysis of these particular investments has never really taken into account this risk. The only countries that have taken this risk seriously up to now are India and Pakistan, who have an agreement that their nuclear reactor sites will not be targeted in conflict. But there are no other governments that have come to these sorts of agreements until this point. We need to learn that lesson, and we need to account for these risks, to strengthen the vulnerabilities of these power plants beyond the reactor themselves, which is expensive, but that needs to be costed into these decisions.
Paul Ingram, thank you so much for explaining that so well to me and to our viewers, speaking to us there from London. Thanks, Paul.